chin, and he steals the farm! How did that connect by Edgeway?
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Amazon European Masters. I'm still Viperoon, still joined by Nymaera, and we're moving into our 5th game of the evening. We've got Mousesports coming up against Macko Esports, and Nymaera, we've talked about it so much throughout this tournament so far, even though it's only on day 2. The more minor regions are really here to scrap, but Prime League, of course, a very, very dominant one as well.
Absolutely, and this matchup has a bit of history to it. Very last split, Mousesports knocked out Macko from the PG Nats in a tiebreaker to get through to that top 8 position. So they will really want to get some of themselves that coveted revenge, which so few teams really get to taste at this kind of level. And in their last game versus the Giants, it got surprisingly close. Were it not for Attila and his inhuman hands on the Ezreal, maybe we would have seen a very different result. So a lot of good picks and a lot of good team fighting from them, alongside, of course, that very fun Nasus mid pick, which Sebekx piloted pretty well, but it wasn't enough to secure themselves a victory.
I think you called him a mad scientist when we were prepping for this one, because he can bring out stuff like the Nasus and make it look good. It wasn't a case of you picked Nasus mid, what's going on? The dog was here to scrap, and he did so very effectively, but they're going to want to pick up a win here, because losing 2 on the bounce in the first couple of days.
Plus 12.
It's not going to be the one.
I just love the slow-mo clips of just like the plus 12 stacks, lovely stuff. But yeah, no, I mean, I think that Sebekx has been the real kind of like spiritual leader of this team in some ways, kind of leading that charge. It's not just the Nasus, he plays stuff like Annie as well in that mid lane, which again, stuff like LeBlanc, because of point-and-click stuns, could very well be a pick at this level. We've very occasionally seen it into picks like that before. So myself as a mid lane player, I love to see some of that cheese, love to dive into those matchups a bit more and theorize why these players have made it so successful. Not the only person with unorthodox methods, though. We have Gadget on the other side, so I'm very much expecting some Karthus bans, as both of these players of Sebekx and Gadget try and bring out that alchemy and that mad science and turn some lead into gold. Maybe not the rank, maybe a gold medal instead.
You don't want to be gold ranked in the Amazon European Masters.
How does it feel, Will?
It feels bad. Honestly, I'm not playing. There's a reason that I'm on this side of the camera and not dominating the Rift, but the Tristana are going to be taken away initially. And there's the Karthus ban. You've already called it.
Yeah, so I mean, Gadget, formerly of the Unicorns of Love, they did weird stuff. They played Orianna bot. They played, of course, a lot of that Karthus. It was maybe in a meta where Mage's bot lane were slightly more accepted, but still it's something which Gadget has had banned in every game in the play-ins, so I don't think that's letting up here, nor do I think it will let up in the foreseeable future. Macko banning away the Rakan makes me think that they don't want to give over a first pick Rakan, even if they could play something like that Thresh. And actually, the Thresh has been left open, which is a very common ban in this tournament. Potentially a first pick, but Viego is still available too. Lots on the table.
Yeah, you said the Annie being taken off the table is not something we necessarily see all the time, but Sebekx, he enjoys a little bit of the fire starting. And the Seraphine also taken off the table. Bushy played that one last time around. I love Bushy from the Baltic Masters time in spring 2021. Had an excellent performance there, now on the main stage of these European Masters, and it's going to be the Varus being taken by Gadget, so nothing too crazy in the bot lane here.
No, sadly not. But however, they did play it in their game yesterday versus Kamilius, and they did lose. However, Gadget looked solid in lane. It was more towards like the team fights where he could struggle to keep himself alive. One of the reasons why Varus has not been as contested, though, is that normally Varus in lane is used to trading so heavily and never be traded back onto. Ziggs always is in range of you. There's always that chance. Plus, you often get out traded in the poke matchups if you do end up going towards those heavier trades. So Bushy or Sebekx can pick up that champion. Of course, there's still potentially a flex at this point. The Viego, though, almost certainly heading to the jungle, though. That has long since departed solo lanes.
Yeah, Cboi going to be the one securing that one, and Pridestalkr going to be the one securing the Zhao. So it's the same jungle matchup we saw last series, and it was the Viego. Goodness me, I hope not. It was the Viego who secured the win in that one. We're going to have to see if Pridestalkr can be a little bit more effective in the early games than Maxi was.
And against something like that Viego, of course, you do always understand that there will reach a point where if the Viego gets one kill in a team fight, then you have outlived the Zhao in terms of their usefulness. hovering over that Nasus again. We haven't seen the mid lane pick. I don't know whether this is something which Sebekx is happy to blind pick at this point, but with something like a Ziggs, you have enough wave clear even though you don't have it in that mid lane. Instead, it's going to be StenBosse picking up the Camille, opens up a lot more global champs from that mid lane were Sebekx to go towards them, stuff like the Twisted Fate, stuff like the Rise. So it does open up more options on the table should Sebekx want to diversify his into less strange waters.
If he wants to go for something a little bit more standard, the set is going to be removed off the table. Of course, MOUZ haven't shown either of their solo lanes just yet, so expect another one. Potentially that Camille doesn't love playing into as much. And of course, they've got 2 paths themselves where they can throw towards that support and potentially probably a mid laner more realistically, but it's going to be the Dr. Mundo being removed. And with Camille already shown, maybe they do something that I don't.
Potential of the Viego going solo lane and then the Camille going into top. It's been a while since I've seen a Camille mid, but if you're going to lock in a melee champion, sometimes that pick can do well into it.
True.
Just maybe there's been some whispers which we of course haven't seen through their practice regimens. I have to say it's very important to me though that Pridestalkr has gotten something like the Zhao. I felt like Pridestalkr was the player of plans. It was him and it was Maxwell. Those were the 2 I was looking at saying, oh heck, these guys are good. Last game though, against K-Corp, Pridestalkr struggled to get involved in the game seriously. He was on the Trundle, got a bit zoned out in team fights, got a bit outranged. For something like the Zhao, you just charge straight on in there, you're always going to get damage done in those team fights. I'm glad to see it for MOUZ.
Twisted Fate and Syndra both being removed, so a couple of staple mid laners off the table for both of these teams. And now it's the decision, where do Macko want to take their counter pick? Where do they want to be giving that priority? You've got to imagine that a support might be in the offing. There's still plenty of options. The Trundle being locked in has thrown the cat amongst the pigeons a little bit, but there's still super amounts of flexibility here.
Sure, because the Trundle is most likely on a, if you take the nameplates off, to go in towards support. I don't know what madness they've been cooking up here. This is madness. This is Macko, apparently. But at least you have that Trundle pillar to keep the Zhao in a fight. In terms of the 1v1, the Viego doesn't want to take that fight. Just having the Trundle on your team, though, allows you to shred them resistances, allows you to keep them into the fight with that Trundle pillar should they dive in too deep. I think that's more than enough value out of Macko. On the other side, though, we now have ourselves our top lane matchup determined by that Mordekaiser, so a little bit more magic damage coming in to the MOUZ lineup because they didn't really have any before that. Now they have to blind pick their own mid laner to go up against Sebekx and his wonderful bag of tricks.
Yeah, it could be Ziggs, could be Camille, we said a little bit, could be Viego. There's lots of
could be Viego.
all right
Freudian
options.
slip earlier. You saw the script.
Don't be doing that to me on my first time here because I hate the champion. But it's going to be the Orianna going into that mid lane, so it's a very standard, safe pickup. It's not really going to be hard countered by anything you've got to imagine, even if it's shown. And Macko they'll have to reveal what their plan is in this last bit, you've got to imagine.
So, of course, Orianna, one of our staple mid laners throughout League of Legends history, right now does fine in the laning phase, can get dove onto by something like that. Viego, of course, Viego is a champion with a lot of chase down, but still has... Is that going to be... So this might end up being the Ezreal bot and then the Ziggs into the mid lane. Can also flex between that, though, because as much as Orianna is a stable laner, you don't punish lanes that hard either. I actually wonder if that's an Ezreal mid, thinking about it.
Just because it's a decent pick into the Orianna, it's something that's very safe.
You outrange the Orianna, can't force him off a farm. Bot lane's fine because the Ziggs is a fine matchup into the Varus, and you still get to scale up in towards that 2-item spike. It does remove a certain ability to fight around a mid-jungle 2v2, but I don't really see the difference if you're going to play a Nasus in that case either, because you're also not going to give much to early skirmishes. Basically, you're playing for a 2-item power spike inside of Macko, get that Ezreal solo lane XP, and get them rolling out the DPS numbers when it comes to the bigger fights again.
And it looks like that's exactly what they're going to be doing. Sebekx securing this one. I said in the last Jam Select when Ezreal was locked in for Zamalek that I was like, it could technically go mid, but it won't. It just turns out I was a game too early on that.
True.
I'm excited to see this composition. Macko definitely gone for the mad scientist route a little bit, which is something that we've seen a little bit from PG Nationals already so far in this Amazon European Masters. Of course, in the play-ins, it wasn't super successful for them, which was disappointing, but it's kind of PG Nats, we always want to see them do well, and I think that they've got a decent shot, even though this is a very tough group. Yeah,
and I mean, talking about those play-ins again, Outplayed had some seriously good games in play-ins. They did come up against a Go Rogue in the knockout match. That sucked for them. They did end up losing, not through a clean sweep, it was 1-2, but sadly, Macko find themselves in a similarly difficult draw situation. Of course, it's in a group situation, not a knockout one, but PG Nats, however, though this is a difficult situation, were they to progress from here, put some respect on this region's name. That would be a serious accolade for Macko.
It'll be a statement of intent more than anything, and we found our way onto the Rift for the 5th game of the evening. Mousesports on the blue side, we've got Macko on the red, and Macko's composition, it's got all the components that you'd want from a good composition. All of these champions are very strong in the current meta. Not entirely convinced by all of the positioning.
Yeah, like you know that meme of Marge Simpson holding a potato and just thinking, I just think it's neat. That's kind of Sebekx with like his own unique champion pool. Like, I'm not really going to sit there and theorize about it all day. It's something which he's comfortable around. And the thing about being a player of more unorthodox picks is that you are banking on the fact that you are going to be more comfortable on your champions than the enemy is at playing against it. Of course, I myself am a bit of an LGL enjoyer. There was a player over there who played like a third of his games on Ziggs and Heimerdinger. He's played for many, many seasons. This has been when they have been absolutely not meta, but you can still see the value in playing that kind of technique. Just knowing your own limits better allows you to take some fights which some people don't even believe are possible.
And talking about the jungle real quick, just to catch up with what's going to be going on in there. It's the same jungle matchup we saw last game. Are we going to see similar kind of ideas from both of these champions as Zhao and the Viego? What are they wanting to do?
What are they wanting to do? Well, I mean, the Zhao can certainly go towards this top lane early. I think that the one swing matchup on this map is going to be this top lane, because you're looking at the Viego ganking at Orianna. Normally you say, oh yeah, you can probably gank that champion. Not really when you've got an Ezreal involved. Probably just wants to take some of those shorter trades and then back off. They're not really going to be trading super heavily. Whereas that top lane is the one where if you get an individual advantage, that becomes so important for the rest of the map. So it is going to be about, for me, about shielding and upsetting that top lane matchup.
We'll have to keep our eyes down up there and in the bot lane, actually. Yeah, Kamilius going a bit deep, but was okay. Took a couple of tower shots, but isn't too hurt and will be able to back away.
Tis but a scratch.
Yeah, it's just, you know, what's a little tower shot at level 2 between friends?
What's a tower shot between friends?
It's what it's a amount of damage. Is what it is.
Yeah, it turns out it's about 300 damage. It's a pretty large amount at that early levels of the game. So we do see the early prior coming in from the Varus and Leona, but that's a lot of damage.
Gadget, he's burning. The flash forward from Bushy. First blood goes over to click with the ignite, and hey, we were just about to sing their praises. Do you want to change what you were about to say?
Maybe a little, because there's still a heal available for Gadget, and I wonder if that would have saved his life. Of course, that was, I believe, the short fuse passive coming from the Ziggs. It would have been that extra amount of damage, which allows you to take the more bursty trades as the Ziggs. It's not just those abilities coming through. Have a lot of good turnaround damage in the shorter trades while you have your passive up too. It's a bit of an overstep from Gadget, and as much as we sung the praises of that AD carry from his previous international career over in the CIS, over in the LCL on UOL, that's a big misstep, and that is now going to be very difficult for MOUZ to start playing around. The Pridestalkr is here, maybe here to bail out this bot lane, but he's been seen.
No flash available on Bushy. He used it aggressively here, and he's got teleport as his other summoner, so keep your eyes peeled on potential ganks there, but Cboi moving into the mid lane, trying to get onto Czekolad, who's still got flash available, has support over the wall, takes a lot of damage, flashing at the very last second, and Sebekx is also going to get away on sub 100 health as Pridestalkr tries to put the spear down, won't be able to do so, and now needs to return into the jungle. Could be caught out, but flashes himself. Are we going to see any more for any more coming through? Mousesports not interested, they've already burned all of theirs. And Macko not going to follow up any further either. So many members in the room, but she gets a nice satchel charge, a lot of bomb damage as Czekolad, he goes low, he gets chomped down as there's another flash. It's flicked this time as Sebekx is here. He got the teleport through and he might be able to get the second kill of the fight. He'll be able to give it over to Cboi on the Viego. And Macko, they're here to party. 3-0, 4.5 minutes in.
How did that happen? How does this happen in any world? It starts with Czekolad over pushing in that mid lane, potentially just trying to bully out Sebekx because, of course, Ezreal doesn't have the best wave clear under tower. Potentially could have been just saying, right, I want to keep them there and make sure they can't respond to the play. This is after that, though. Czekolad gets pushed back, and Bushy does actually have significant setup on the Ziggs if you walk close enough to them. FLICKR gets the first kill. You've got globals coming in at this point, and MOUZ have no way to disengage. They overplay in the mid-jungle 2v2. Maybe at that point, you just let the Orianna die early.
And it's a great position for the team from the PG Nats to be in. 2k gold lead almost at the 5-minute mark. Dragons on the menu. It is the Mountain Dragon. first one on the map for this game. And you've got to imagine the Macko, they've got kills in all the right places to try and make this. Well, I say all the right places. Click's got 2 of them, but hey, it's a Trundle. It's a good time.
I believe in support supremacy. They need more gold. They certainly do. Click, speaking of that 2-kill, Trundle finds his way up towards that top lane. You can do that when you have a Ziggs, by the way. You don't really need your support to keep them alive after a certain point. Bushy uses that teleport to get back onto the map, and then they just brute force through top lane priority, stop any sort of freeze being set up by Satorius.
Yeah, just trying to set up a bit of a Australia lane duo top. It's the classic. It's a throwback. And Bushy has been forced away. He can do so pretty safely. He's not at risk right now. But MOUZ actually taking a decent advantage of this, going towards that dragon as well. And if they can go dragon and a plate, things looking pretty nice for them on the return of that plate.
Potentially. Of course, getting the early neutral objectives can help, but while Xin Zhao is on a dragon, of course, this is the payoff you have for it. You don't get to gank somewhere else. You don't get to respond somewhere else. Macko actually are going to find themselves down towards the bottom side of the map. They don't have their jungler. They do have the Ezreal, who is level 6 early, remember. This is solo lane Ezreal. Oh,
that's a lot of damage coming through, and MOUZ being chased away. Dragon is helping them out, and the team from Italy will be able to secure themselves. You've got to imagine the dragon. It tries for the steal on the Varus, but it's not enough. Secured by the Viego. Cboi grabs the first objective of the game.
Okay, right. So then Ezreal does get at the ultimate a little earlier, and it hurts at that point. MOUZ do go towards that dragon. They don't finish it soon enough. And while we were just about to sing the praise and say, okay, cool, right, MOUZ get themselves something to play around, bail out a little bit of this early game deficit they found themselves in. Even that goes wrong, and a kill goes over to someone who, I'm sorry, Will, I'm going to go against you here. Slightly more important than Trundle. The Viego gets a kill. I'm sorry.
No. How dare you? Click's doing
crazy.
Great, and I think that now for Macko, what are they wanting to do? Do they need to accelerate? Because as you say, it's about 2 item spikes for a lot of these champions. Is it a case of just trying to accelerate themselves to that position and then making plays?
I mean, you have a Ziggs. You are more than happy to take yourself something like a Herald. Ziggs Herald pushes are amongst the strongest in the game, up there with Tristana, Demolitionist. And actually now with Sebekx getting to the point where he can start just wave clearing for forever with blue buff with Tyr as well, I think that MOUZ are going to struggle to take this cleanly. They haven't rotated the bot lane up just yet, but actually speaking of that, looks like Bushy is going to just collect that wave at tower, and Macko maybe just happy to survive with this lead right now, not potentially throw it away before they have, again, 1 item, 2 item spikes with this double tier trough that they find themselves in.
Aimless on the clock, Rift Herald, as you say. It's scary if you can get it on the Ziggs, but it's actually MOUZ who have started it up. But we saw this around Dragon as well. Are we going to see a repeat, or are the team on the blue side going to be able to secure themselves their first major objective of the game? Cboi looking to maraud forward, trying to get onto that objective if he can for the seal clip. And Sebekx is there. Camilius is getting the damage down. Will get the ultimate as well from the Orianna. Gadget on the side, Click goes low and will be shut down. The money going on to Gadget is pretty nice at this stage, and Pridestalkr smites and secures the Rift Herald.
And this is just a little lazy, dare I say, from Macko, because they aren't rotating their bot laner. Yes, you have 3 teleports. You got that extra onto the Ziggs. None of them are up, though. You're going to have to 6 someone down in that bot lane lest you lose all of those waves. Macko look at that objective and they say, all right, cool, we'll see if we can find an opening, without realizing they're a severe numbers deficit at that point. And heck, that was before they even had the Varus level 6 to contend with. That could have gone much worse.
Yeah, they're fortunate to only lose the 1 member, and it's unfortunate that it was the Trundle who had a little bit of gold in his pocket that has now been stolen away by MOUZ, and they're finding their way back slowly but slowly. And it's not a disaster for Macko, but they lose out on the opportunity to get that first big push with that Rift Herald, get that Ziggs down with a lot of plates coming through, and now they need to defend against that as well.
I mean, at least you have the Manamune being stacked up by Sebekx. That will transform early into the game, but much like we were kind of talking about, they kind of want to wait for that 1-2 item spike. They were not ready to fight for that last Herald, and they got punished for it. Now the question is, of course, MOUZ, you do have the ability to have a big power play with that Herald. If you do get that gold on someone like your Orianna, that can potentially be a big worry for Macko, but Satorius punished now.
Yeah, he's going to be taken down. The ultimatum secures it, and Cboi gets away with the ultimate stacking, and that's a very nice play from Macko. They needed to make a response to that last failed fight, and grabbing a kill top and a couple of plates will definitely do that.
I mean, Satorius knew that he was not going to get priority from the rest of his team. He was not going to have people roaming over to his lane. It's more important that gold from the Herald, and Pridestalkr's time is elsewhere. Click dodges out on everything. Thumbs up comes out, and Click just waddles his way off.
Yeah, he just, Scarpers isn't interested in being hit by any CC, and still hasn't hit level
normally
6.
I'm not either. You normally get interested in getting hit by CC unless you're a Fiora.
Sometimes it's just if it's hitting you, it's not hitting someone else. Real tank values.
You can tell I don't play tanks.
You're like, no, my team must take the blow. But let's talk about what we're going to see from this next fight. Is the next fight going to be around Dragon? Is this something worth fighting over for both of these teams?
I think that, again, Macko are still waiting on very important item power spikes. You don't have your Muramana upgrades. You don't have your first item on Bushy either. They're teleporting back down towards that bot side. And while, yes, they do have some magic pen from those boosts, I think Macko are more than happy to keep chilling. A single Infernal Dragon is not going to matter diddly squat at this point. You can just wait until you get to that very powerful 2-item spike, particularly when you get Starix through on something like a Camille as well, or maybe something like the Ravenous Hydra, depending on which build StenBosse goes towards. Whereas, and again, it's just another opportunity for you to throw a very hard-earned lead in this early game. I don't think they should be fighting right now.
I mean, if it's free, then they can take it, but they shouldn't really be contesting it too much. And StenBosse and Click up in the top side. It's a 2v3 under the tower. It's a case of what can Camille and Trundle do to defend themselves. Trundle's level 5, so no ultimate available. No ultimatum either, as you say. Cboi's going to be able to get this dragon for free, but are they going to lose 2 members? Teleport coming on through. It's the Ezreal who's going to come up, and that's a really nice pillar to keep Kamilius at bay. A lot of stuns coming through, and there's a massive Orianna ultimate. StenBosse goes very, very low, torn into the death realm, and will be taken out. They lose a second member as well as Click falls, and there's the double securing the Ez. Mousesports, they managed to pick up 3 kills. They lose the dragon, but I don't think they care.
Okay, you don't need a dragon to throw away a hard-earned lead. Turns out you can have a tower in the top lane. The teleport from Sebekx stacks right on top of his teammates, gets them all into all of the AoE. Tower aggro juggling is masterful from MOUZ, and while there is a dragon going over to Macko and co, and some jungle camps on the way as well, that is a huge victory for the side of MOUZ. And that swing matchup between the Camille and the Mordekaiser, guess who just got 2 of those kills? It's Satorius.
Yeah, now he's got himself that top tower. He's got a lot on the inner as well, which is a decent gold injection if they can secure it. And a strong wind would blow that one down at this stage. Satorius can be freed up onto the map a little bit. You can see he's moving down towards that bot side to get a little bit more involved. And Macko, they've lost themselves the lead. And now it's a question of how are they going to be able to build it back?
I mean, who's actually going to be free hitting towers right now? Well, basically no one right now, because the Camille is now going to struggle to deal with Mordekaiser's wave clear. You're probably going to have to call up Cboi to try and find anything. But then again, you're at the point now where Mordekaiser can just make it into a 1v1, take out the extra people from that equation, nor can you start ignoring the impact which Pridestalkr is going to have on this map. Very close towards a gore drink themselves, and they are so ready to fight. Are going to get ourselves a replay of this top lane dive. All well and good saying there's a teleport ult beforehand, but Shockwave's a hell of an ability. Catches almost everyone, and also very important that the Ezreal is burned early. It's not like he can use that for extra damage. It's not like he's got a W onto anyone. That E damage goes onto a minion. It doesn't go onto anyone important, as far as I saw that correctly. Sebekx has the right idea, just not in the right position, and Czekolad just mullers them under the turret.
Czekolad's good at League of Legends. Who'd have thought?
Yeah, so I've heard. Crazy.
Yeah, it's mad. And you've seen the place just
No, it's
fall
MOUZ. Matter in the league above. Yeah.
Yeah,
cool.
They're doing very well in the league above as well. Massive congratulations to them. But with the plates having fallen off, there's a little bit less gold injection for both of these teams, and MOUZ have actually grabbed themselves the gold lead for the first time in this game, and it's not massively significant, but the fact they were able to build back from a 2k gold deficit this early on is a very, very good for them. And they lost out on the first 2 dragons, but if they can grab the next one and kind of slow down that kind of win condition, and it's an ocean dragon as well, then they're looking at the early game and going, yeah, this is pretty good for us.
Well, I mean, you look at particularly a champion like Ezreal. Ezreal has forever been a champion where it's more about the time you hit your spikes, and they're going to hit Kamilius right now as they
they hit him with a lot. He gets caught with the ultimate, and he goes down. Teleport coming up through. Pridestalkr in trouble as well, caught out by the cable, and it will be StenBosse securing the second kill of the fight. Macko not interested in letting this game lie. They're moving towards Rift Herald.
And so much hard work went into Macko's lead, which then so much hard work from MOUZ undid. It's flipped once again, and it's all due to Viego. Catch that Kamilius, who's a little far up. Yes, you do have Czekolad there, they do have the ultimate. Great pillar though means that there is very little options left for Leona. And the thing about Viego is that if you're against a team with very good basic abilities, so Nautilus, like Leona, a lot of these champions which can follow up with CC and just have very high base damages, that is incredibly dangerous to play against and give over that stolen champion, which is exactly what happens there.
Both these teams working exceptionally hard to secure themselves the advantage moving into the mid game here, and it's been back and forth. Both teams showing that they're very, very capable of taking good plays and making the right decisions. But if both teams are doing that, then there's no real advantage being gained or lost in either direction. So moving towards this third dragon, I think this is going to be a very crucial fight because MOUZ cannot give this one over. It's probably a little bit too risky. But Macko really wants to secure this one to catapult them into what is a semblance of an actual lead.
Absolutely, you know, get yourself on Soul Point. That allows you to be the one deciding how the game plays out, because at that point, if you go towards Dragon, MOUZ do not have a choice to leave that Dragon. And actually for this fight, the person who I've got my eyes on is actually FLICKR. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people around the scene, particularly Dino, one of the people who has a lot of information on the scene. They truly believe that FLICKR is the best Italian player in the ERLs right now. And honestly, given how they played with these pillars, they have been so damn good. That's another one. Doesn't catch Camille as far out as that last time, though. But you can see how this Trundle can lead to a lot of extra damage landing because it just sets up so well for Ziggs and Ezreal.
Yeah, and that's another one of those. Ziggs gets the push alongside Rifthold, able to secure that tower very easily. Decent amount of damage onto Sebekx, and he's going to be able to shift away. What can Cboi do? He can force a flash out of Czekolad as the fight will continue moving down the river now. As Click looking for one of those big pillars. StenBosse gets the ultimate onto Matum, on to the Leona, who's going to go down, but it's going to be traded one for one. Pridestalkr needs to be careful. It's taking a decent amount of damage, but he's able to flash over the wall and is tanky. Cboi diving in and out and going all about, trying to get onto Satorius, trying to get away from Satorius as he chases in the Death Realm and now has support both teams here. Satorius gets a decent chunk of damage, takes the Saturn charge closer, but won't be able to get the claw and is forced to back away. Both teams lose a member. And it looks like it's going to be MOUZ who have the inside track towards this dragon. Click's hiding over the back of the wall, though. He might want to make something happen. It's going to be started up. You've got to imagine the Macko are going to want to make a play here. Click puts up the trophy, trying to grab something for himself. Bushy's full health, looking for the poke who's going to be able to secure the dragon. It's going to be taken by MOUZ. They're chasing Cboi away. That's a kill, but Sebekx is looking for revenge, but he falls too as Satorius picks up a double. It's all about Mousesports in that play. Even up the kills, take the goal lead, secure the dragon.
It's all Mousesports, it's all Satorius, and also I want to point out Gadget, because he makes this fight unplayable for Sebekx. He takes off 2/3, 3/4 of that Ezreal's HP before they can start doing anything. Of course, we see that the smite doesn't come through. They don't have the Heartbreaker Strike, don't have a flash, no easy way to get in range, and no, eating a Mordekaiser E is not a good gap closer. We'll speak from experience on that one. Now, Macko, they kind of fight once again before they were ready to. They didn't have Sundra's, they didn't have second items, and continually they are being punished.
And they still don't necessarily have those massive spikes. Ezreal still not on 2 items.
Exactly.
To get there. So Macko now, you've got to imagine that they need to have these spikes before Baron spawns or before Baron becomes a serious threat on the map. How quickly can Mousesports do this Baron? How quickly can they make it a threat?
Okay, so Lethality Varus isn't the best killer of that objective. You don't have yourself the highest DPS of that regard. You're very good at securing it with a W area. That's awesome, right? Stack up and get that snipe through. That's why we have seen a lot of Varus Baron snipes in the last season or two, ever since that active on the W was put through. Not the highest, though. You're right in calling that out in terms of killing and bursting down that objective. I think they'd rather start the objective in the place of starting a fight and then go towards it uncontested.
You know, uncontested Baron sounds good.
Normally okay, yeah, so I hear. Wish I could get more of them in my own games. But,
I hope we don't get too many of them in this game. I like a good Baron dance. I like both teams being able to fight, and there's a lot of poke coming out from both of these teams to make taking Baron and starting it very difficult. Ziggs, Orianna, Varus, Ezreal, they're all difficult champions to start objectives into because you might go half health to Baron. Ezreal and Ziggs are going to be really happy to take that other half off your hands.
But then I have to say about Macko's comp is that they don't have a Rakan, they don't have a Leona, they don't have anything which is going to CC someone in place for long enough for the Ziggs damage to come through reliably. They do have the pillar, which helps. The pillar helps land you a lot of poke from that Ezreal, from that Ziggs. But that's a lot more vague. It's a lot less consistent than what you'd have with the hard engagement supports, which really brought this pick into meta. Czekolad gets hit by the Ezreal ult.
And he's going to get
a bit of danger
by Cboi as well. A decent amount of damage there. The Ziggs ultimate coming on through and won't even land because Cboi is out of there. He doesn't care. Nice one secured from Macko. And great times all around for the Italian team. Baron's on the map, but I don't think they're going to be able to start it just yet.
Okay, that's a good pick. Gives you a bit more of a lease of freedom on the map as Macko will take their second outer turret of this game, matching up with MOUZ. They took the bottom and the top. And actually, 21 minutes into the game, for Macko's outer turret to still be standing in that mid lane is actually quite important, because when we do inevitably get towards these Baron fights, that gives them the ability to kind of brute force that mid lane shove just a couple of seconds quicker, because that wave won't be situated further down the lane.
21 minutes on the clock. Game is dead even on gold, but it's feeling... And do you know what? It feels pretty even. I was going to say, is there a team that you think is in a happier position, is more pleased with where they are right now?
Okay, so you have just hit some really key items onto your Ezreal. Just hit Last Whisper, 2.5 items spike, got a Starix onto Cboi. Macko feel happy with that. And actually with getting that kill on the top lane, getting some gold in the pocket, they do get themselves a tiny lead once more. However, you also don't necessarily have the best side lanes when you've got Mordekaiser with this much gold in pocket also hitting their second item. I don't even think there is a team which feels better right now in terms of the individual spikes that have been hit, because actually you're kind of even in some very important roles.
So it's going to be a case of just seeing how the next team fight falls and
all on execution.
You're saying the team that plays better is got a better chance of winning?
I know, crazy.
That's outrageous. I don't know if
why must you make me sound like I'm not an expert or something, Will? You're exposing me here. It's crazy.
You do it yourself. I'm just here to facilitate. But we could have another fight coming on through.
Okay.
On the click, he gets grabbed on through and Trundle goes down. Easy pickup. Czekolad the one with the final auto, but it was really everyone getting involved from the Blues side. They can move down towards this dragon. It's spawning up in 10 seconds. They've got the man advantage, but can they push through and defend long enough in order to secure the objective?
It's incredible. MOUZ played that fight better, and they won the fight well. I mean, of course, that was Click stacking up a little too far. Not the tank.
Huge coming through. Czekolad again with the shockwave. They only grab one this time around, but it's really all they need. They're going to build this dragon off the back of Sebek's corpse, and it should be an easy secure.
I love the boldness, the decisiveness which MOUZ played the last 30 seconds to a minute. Click steps just too far forward.
Bushy!
I mean, there was no one in the pit there. That's just well calculated. Bushy gets them to soul point. And it feels like they absolutely don't deserve it, but you always throw out those Hail Marys if you know you don't have that fight afterwards. Again, coming back to the better look in at MOUZ. Click steps up just too far forward. Kamilius really punishes. Gadget once again around this river, similar positions to the last time I was praising on this pick, landing arrow after arrow, making sure that the key carries from Macko cannot fight a full HP. They can't have this clean turnaround. And then, of course, you get the huge combo coming in here. You do have Flash available, but a move speed doesn't even lead to land the W. Does it all himself. He does all of his own stunts here and takes that fight handily for his team.
It looks out the objective afterwards because Bushy too good. And hey, you talked about, is there any way of them holding someone in place long enough to get that burst? Yeah, it's called Dragon. It doesn't go very far. You just have to smack it with your ult. And now, as you said, Macko found themselves onto Dragon Soul Point. How crucial is Ocean Soul in this game? Because there's a lot of poke being thrown around.
So there is a lot of poke being thrown around, very true, but what we saw from MOUZ there is actually they are being more successful when they find the initial pick very quickly onto the front line anyway. We do see Macko looking for a turnaround.
Might have found a pick again onto Click. He goes down, and now Macko once again down a member. We've seen this one before. Baron this time is the objective that's on the Rift. Don't throw this one away to a Ziggs steal, and MOUZ don't look super interested in starting this one up immediately. They're going to back away. But it looks like the re-engage coming in from StenBosse. The ultimate coming through, the ultimatum and the kill. It's a shutdown going in onto Camille. They grab themselves a return kill, but in the top side, Czekolad grabs the tower.
I mean, click, click, boom, you lose a Trundle, but return with the kill onto Gadget. Very important. Remember, when you leave Ziggs alone with a tower, particularly when you do have a lot of AP, turrets get shredded. That's exactly what we see there. They get some more gold onto the board, and credit to Macko, actually, for seeing the play and returning it in short order when it seemed like MOUZ had found their dominant passage of play.
Baron's still on the map. This could be what we're going to see the next fight over. Do we think that this is going to be the case, or do these teams want to wait until the next dragon? Because with Soul Point on the map, it's a crucial objective to be contesting, especially if you're MOUZ, because you don't necessarily get to decide on the circumstances because you're the team that's behind on that objective. Or are either of these teams able to try and force through something like the Baron? Are they capable of doing that, or is it just a case of we're going to go for the easy objective when it appears?
So, like we mentioned last game, doing Baron on red side, if Macko were to find that opportunity, is quite difficult. I think they would need to have a real run-up of vision towards that objective so they could peel off in time before Shockwave became an issue, Chains of Corruption, everything like that. And on the other side, we talked a bit about the Baron speed. Yes, Orianna has decent damage against Baron, but it's not really enough to make it a very fast Baron. And then when you're doing that against the Trundle pillar, which is also helping pin this team into the pit against that double poke, not really the easiest option either, which is why we started to see this be played a little bit more lethargically. It's much easier to kill a dragon, has less resist, has less HP as well. So once again, kind of battening down for a bit of a stall for the next minute or two.
That's okay. We've had quite a interactive game so far. 19 kills in 27 minutes. It's not bad going. If there are any fans of the LPL over here, then that actually isn't bad going, I promise.
Shout out to the VCS. They have a crazy combined kill per minute when they're normally playing. But yes, I mean, this is more like the chess. Well, I wouldn't even call it a chess match because it's a lot more reaction based. It is literally just looking for that one opening and seeing what comes through from that. And Click, who had that really good early game, has fallen prey to that a number of times in this mid to late game now. Gonna have to start solidifying that because this Trundle, as we said, is one of the key proponents of this Italian squad to try and set up for the big damage to come through.
And just clearing out waves is not going to be an issue for Macko. They've got themselves a Ziggs, they've got Ezreal, who's going to be able to just sit back and just throw abilities, stop waves from going anywhere remotely near their objectives. And MOUZ actually stepping forward, could be in trouble. StenBosse going to be able to get the ultimatum. Once again, it's onto Leona. She's going to be able to get the stun up, and a lot of damage is being thrown on through. Pridestalkr actually picking up the first kill of the fight. Cboi taking it into Devrel. Needs to be careful in his own right. Bushy trying to get away, but his slow click will go down as well as the bot lane is spelled. Double kill for Pridestalkr in the back. Cboi's got nowhere to run, and it's just as simple as that. Macko lose 4. MOUZ stands strong and move towards the Baron.
And Macko finally break the dance. They break out of this rhythm the teams have found, finding pick after pick. But it comes with a misstep. Even though Czekolad is not there at the start of the fight, the pick is onto Kamilius while Gadget is behind them. The Varus is allowed to free fire, is allowed to put out hilarious amounts of damage alongside the rest of his team. And MOUZ, well, they found that uncontested Baron well.
Yeah, they found it was very easy for them to secure, and Satorius needs to be a little bit careful, but he's got a little bit of support in the form of Kamilius, who's looking to get the stun down. Will be able to do so. Has Zenith Blade available still as well, and might look for the re-engage, but StenBosse very slippery, hard to pin down unless that one has been used. Kamilius now taking a lot of damage, and Macko are on Soul, so they want to force as many members away as possible. The time comes in from MOUZ. Click goes down. It's the shutdown on to StenBosse, and now he needs to be a little bit careful. Diving on through, Pridestalkr goes golden, and it's actually going to be Camille that is felled. Gadget's still hanging around. The ultimatum has been blown as damage coming on through. Gadget gets one, but it's a shutdown the other way as Czekolad will be able to flee. Macko should be able to grab themselves this dragon. They've got 2 full health members, but MOUZ could look to respond.
I mean, lose the fight, win the war. Macko get themselves the dragon so
too early.
Gadget trying out a cheeky steal, sadly not able to match the earlier accomplishments of Bushy onto that objective. Messy affair once again. Macko realized now is the time. We need to find something right now, and Sebekx gets a combo right across the team yet again. sadly, Click finds himself caught for yet another time in this game, and that leads to that Trundle once again not being able to set up a lot of that damage. But while all of this is happening, I mean, Bush is still alive, and while Ezreal does fall, getting baited into the Xin Zhao ultimate, Xin Zhao doesn't get the ability to disengage. It's a lost fight in terms of the members that fall, but the jungler's dead, allows Macko to get that 4th dragon, and we're still in it.
Yeah, Macko definitely still in this one. They trade blow for blow, maybe take the worst of it, but they've got the health bars to take the objective, and now they will have to weather the storm of this Baron buff for a little while longer. They need to be able to defend this tower if they can, and all the members are following the stack of MOUZ as they try to push in. Can they grab a second?
Potentially, of course, they have themselves the range advantage, particularly, okay, Kamilius going for the ult, does hit Sebekx.
Yeah, but the ultimate going through Ziggs. That's so much damage onto Orianna. Czekolad's gonna check out of this one as damage coming into onto Pridestalkr. He's so tanky and able to survive. StenBosse doesn't want to engage 5v1, which is probably wise even with a couple of low health bars, and Macko will be able to defend there, inhibit the tower, lose the inner, but don't lose any members.
That is a totally fair amount of damage from Bushy. Yes, the answer is they do find themselves another turret. They get themselves that inner one, but they have to fall back shortly after that. And once again, we are still in this. We understand that both of these teams are willing to fight, can find winning fights. MOUZ, if they overstep, yes, they have themselves the gold advantage, but it is not enough to secure themselves easy team fight wins. You cannot ignore these carries.
They need to try and get picks. They need to make stuff uncontested, and Baron is going to be standing for a little bit longer, but not too much. There it goes, and now I've got to imagine that MOUZ were, even in fights, it looked like a lot of the time, have lost that combat advantage that they've got, and now they're just facing down this Baron sold-up Macko team. I remember both of these teams yet to grab a win here at the Amazon European Masters. You don't want to be going 0-2 in your first couple of games. One of these teams will be walking away with a win. And both of these teams, they're putting their all into it.
You don't want to do that in this group in particular either. In some ways it's helpful because you know that actually upsets are likely from any given matchup. There is no clean victory. There might be favorites, but they are slim if that. Of course, we've got the other game in this group coming right up after this one, and that would be an absolute barnstormer to watch. And those teams will be watching here and saying, oh heck, both of these teams picking up a win could actually, with an upset victory later on, I mean, I know they said there weren't such things, but if you go towards a 0-2, that throws everything into contention.
They're going to try and grab themselves a fight. Nice pillar from Click, but won't follow up too much. Pridestalkr takes some poke and a decent amount of damage, but it's Xin Zhao in the end of the day. He's not too worried about taking a couple of autos and a couple of Qs, and is going to be able just to walk back towards his team. And now the pressure's being kept up. You can imagine there's not going to be a massive fight over nothing, you'd hope. But Baron's up in a minute and a half. You've got Dragon, Elder Dragon up in 2.5 minutes. I don't know if it's just me being a dreamer, imagining that these teams are going to wait for those objectives before they start killing each other. But, you know, a boy can dream.
I think it genuinely depends on if the supports are caught out, because those are the two that we've seen get preyed upon at the most. You see Cboi there, very happy to walk forward. And again, particularly with the Sterak's into the Guardian Angel with the Ocean Soul ticking at the same time, Cboi is more than happy to get a little bit more scrappy, understanding that they can reset. They are unlikely to get burst out if they do play their cards right. We finally see the bot lane out of turret 33 minutes into the game fall in the favor of Macko, and that will give them an extra angle of attack towards the dragon if they get to push that wave up.
Makes it a little bit easier for them to fight because it's not so safe for MOUZ if things go wrong. That said, an outer tower at this stage, not the scariest of prospects to be diving under after a one-team fight, and Macko could look to try and get a pick here. Czekolad doing a decent amount of damage. Nice ultimate will pop the shield from Gadget. Not going to be able to do too much else off the back of that, though. Macko are forced up a river. Of course, Baron up in 30 seconds. Maybe they want to be this side of the rift, and the poke is going to be thrown by both teams. But if it's a war of attrition, Macko surely win with their dragon.
But importantly there, Cboi didn't actually land any damage onto Czekolad. Didn't activate the Ocean Soul, so they're sat at a lower amount of HP than they would really be liking. Sebekx is, however, landing that poke. That's the important damage that we're seeing. Camille
nice ultimate, slows down onto Bushy, but that might be enough. He's forced to flash away, burning with the red buff, but the fight is going to be kicking off in that pathway. Pridestalkr takes so much, is going to be resurrected, but the snipe comes in to Click. It's a 1-for-1 trade right now. Cboi diving on through. We'll be able to secure it on the bottom of your screen. The top laners are duking it out, and it's actually going to be a kill. You've got to imagine the Ezreal coming on through. It won't be needed, though, as StenBosse wins that one. MOUZ needs to be a little bit careful about the Camille coming on through, but Czekolad gets so much damage on the Bushy. Will he be able to stay alive? No, he won't, but neither will the Orianna. Sebekx securing that one. StenBosse is here now, and Cboi looks to get the kill. It's Ezreal who secures it. It's gonna be the ace coming through from Macko. They've got 3 members, and Baron's looking at.
Baron's looking at them. I think they secure that. Honestly, with the teleports that they have as well, and the death timers, they probably get both of the big objectives. Is that enough to close out the game? I think it might be after that point. This is a huge turning point because we saw that the very, very important flashes were blown too. Czekolad flashes for a trade and kills. That's all well and good. What happens when you have to defend the base when you come up next though? Macko find themselves into a winning position with a real hand on the lifeline of this game.
What can MOUZ do? They're moving. They're making a beeline towards the bot lane on spawn. They've got teleports available on Satorius, on Czekolad. They can get members around this dragon really, really quickly, and they're going to have to burn those resources because they cannot afford to give away both epic objectives. They need to defend this one with their lives, or it could be their Nexus's life that is on the line. You've got to feel like this could be the last team fight of the game.
Genuinely could be, but Macko did not take the Elder Dragon. They took the Baron in favor of it. So they basically said, we don't need the combat stats right now. We'd rather have the ability to manage waves to get this Elder Dragon secured. I wonder if that's the wrong mistake. I think with the Elder, you can stave off the fight afterwards, particularly since you still have your GAs available too, and a number of them were just blown on the side of MOUZ alongside those summoners too.
Oh, really nice stun. Sebekx will be able to get away though, putting the damage down as much as he can, but he's in the death realm, so no one's here to support. The damage coming through is massive from Mordekaiser as Ezreal will be resurrecting, but MOUZ lose a couple of decent health bars and need to be careful and catch out and kill 2 members though, and Macko, they have Baron, but it doesn't really matter. Gadget is on the wrong side of the team fight, goes golden to avoid a bad ultimatum as the rest of the team will collapse and he does die, but he buys so much time. MOUZ now trying to clean up this team fight, but what can Macko do? They've still got Cboi throwing damage. FLICKR is still there in the front, but he will be felled, as will StenBosse. It's just the Viego, and there's no number of resets that are saving you now, Sunshine. He gets one, and he's resurrecting, but can he dive into the other body? I don't know if he can. That's a half health bar. Will he be able to survive? He's Leona and dives away. MOUZ are left chasing shadows as Cboi manages to survive. I don't know if he's going to be enough to stop them getting this Elder Dragon though.
But by Macko not taking the Elder and losing the fight afterwards, all of those things that we talked about, wow, they had the summoner advantage because of course you don't have that onto the Orianna or the Varus. You blew the GAs as well. All of that disappears and swings back into favor of MOUZ. They take themselves the big Uber combat buff. And this is how it starts. This is how it happens. Sebekx forced to use his QSS before the Mordekaiser ult comes down. Similarly powerful in this team fight though, and the key moment happens right here. The shockwave is not seen by Bushy. Gets caught alongside his carry, and Czekolad gets a 2-for-1 special in this one supermarket deal. And both carries are down at that point. Credit to Cboi where it's due, does get that reset. I wonder actually if they stayed in Varus's form a little longer, maybe they would have been able to find themselves a bit more damage, but they tried to go towards the very end of that fight. You catch Czekolad there on the Orianna, get yourself into that position where you have the huge amount of items that mid laner's brought up. Maybe that ends the fight. As we saw though, it doesn't quite happen. Viego is still a very unfun champion to play against in this kind of situation, but it doesn't end the fight this time.
Yeah, Viego sure is a champ, huh?
Yes.
He kind of walks away on half health and doesn't really care, but final Elder Dragon secured by MOUZ. They've got it for 1.5 minutes, and oh my words, Czekolad, mate, you need to get your
Justice reigns from above, I believe that's called.
There's a lot of those big old ultimates being thrown in the direction of Orianna. Does manage to survive as StenBosse pushing in the top side is met by a Satorius, but big team fight here from MOUZ could be massive in terms of their opportunity to win this game. And Macko, one big team fight from them, they can make big inroads as well.
For sure, particularly because if Ziggs survives the fight, game probably ends after that point. Camille too, Camille has huge tower damage, but this is why things get so eerie and so spooky, if we can use that October word, well out of season, well. When you have a clean team fight, right? I mean, but you're not going to get that in so many of these different cases because it's all well and good clearing out one of these carries in Macko. If you lose one person though, good chance that Cboi makes a real mess of that fight. However, on the same side, on the same other side of that coin, actually reaching the carries of MOUZ is the hard job for Macko. They can kill the front line, it's just ending up killing particularly Czekolad at the end of it. And actually, we can see that there was the stopwatch built up in the last fight, but Gadget actually going towards the Zhonya's Hourglass with that last item, and I actually approve of that. It allows you to cancel out that Camille ultimate if you use it at the right time. Doesn't have it for this fight though. Do have an Elder buff though, which helps things considerably.
Pushing into this team comp of Macko is kind of nightmarish though, as Czekolad once again taken to half health but dodges away from the Ezreal ultimate, so won't take the other half. And MOUZ forced to retreat into their own jungle. They set up waves well, but they can't do anything off the back of it because Ziggs just throws a couple of Qs and it's all okay.
Well, they did take the Baron before that, remember? Oh,
StenBosse, you have an ultimatum. He's going to be taking a decent amount of damage and is stunned up. Gets the ultimatum in the end and will be able to flash away. Pridestalkr now is the target. He's just so tanky. Nice on the covering for Orianna, but it's only on to Cboi. He flashes away as well. MOUZ burning a lot of resources from the back of Macko and get away without losing any members. Decent team fight.
That is an awful lot of damage for no kills on both sides, but that is, of course, very, very important because, of course, the Baron would have come up. And at this point, you know, we were talking about the first Elder fight. Oh, we kind of hope that they're not just going to randomly fight for no reason, particularly, you know, in some of the earlier Dragon fights. Well, at this point, you win a fight with a random pick. Actually, that is incredibly valuable because we've seen what happens when you do have the threat of the Solar Flare catching out someone like the Trundle, anyone, honestly, who stood underneath the tower. And on the same ticket, StenBosse with the Hextech ultimatum. We saw Gadget there being caught out by the pillar, which is maxed out by Click now, but Click has been caught again.
Takes a lot of damage, but he is going to be able to stand strong for a little bit longer. Actually able to stumble away from this fight. Satorius gets a pick onto Bushy, trying to get the damage down as much as he possibly can. Pridestalkr takes out Trundle in the end. It's Bushy trying to make his escape, but he just escapes into the middle of MOUZ. Throws his ultimate, which does so much damage as he goes down, and he takes Pridestalkr into Guardian Angel with him. All 5 members of MOUZ are still alive. Pridestalkr just losing out on the item, but Macko lost 2.
I mean, Ocean Soul or not, you cannot heal that much damage that Satorius is putting out.
He's going to half health and he needs to get away. Dodged away from the Orianna ultimate this time around though. You can see Camille and Zhao are not available for this play right now, but are both moving towards the Dragon area. Baron is on the map. It is an option for these teams to start. And it looks like Mousesports want to get control at very least and maybe just take the objective.
And once again, this fine balance established between these two teams is upset by MOUZ. Does get the ultimate onto Satorius, and they sniff out the death bush. Cboi dodges.
Oh, Cboi's dodging away from a lot of abilities. One of those landing could have been horrific for Macko in this game. 42 minutes on the clock. We're definitely making up for lost time with a couple of quicker games earlier in the day. As MOUZ and Macko, these two teams, they're fighting with everything they've got. They do not want to go 0-2 in the first couple of days of the Amazon European Masters. And both of these teams, they feel deserving of wins, but that's not how League of Legends works.
And these are teams which, you know, MOUZ got to the semi-finals last split. They lost against BTXL, the eventual runners-up of the competition. And that was just after, of course, beating out Macko in their own group. In a tiebreaker, Macko would sorely want to miss out on that kind of eventuality again. There is history in this matchup. We don't try and overburden it with the narratives, but sometimes they're so damn apparent as these two teams once again right on the knife's edge.
Yeah, you can feel like there's another fight in the offing. There's a lot of poke being thrown on down. It's keep your eyes on the engagers, keep your eyes on Kamilius, keep your eyes on StenBosse. These are the guys who are going to be diving forward and trying to get things going. Satorius is marauding forward. He might want to get the fight kicked off in earnest. As Sebekx gets caught out, he has to cleanse away, but dodged away from the Zenith Blade, so the fight hasn't been kicked off. And now Macko know that ability is down. Leona no ult, and they're throwing those ultimates themselves. So much poke coming through from Bushy as Satorius needs to be careful. Does have the death realm available, so he can call a 1v1 timeout if he feels the need. Gadget half health from that Ziggs Mega Inferno Bomb. Needs to be careful he doesn't get called out by too many more abilities, but it looks like it's Macko moving towards the Elder Dragon.
I mean, with the amount of damage they just did to the entire arrayed team of MOUZ, you can understand why Bushy doesn't need that setup. He's going for the groups, doesn't always need a Camilius.
Czekolad here, lost damage going to get onto Camilius, but he will be able to get away. StenBosse able to secure the kill eventually as Cboi gets the first reset. Can he do any more outside of the Death Realm though? A lot of damage goes on through and Camille goes down. They managed to get the resurrection down onto the Viego and members are diving on top of him, but he's still alive. He just doesn't care as Gadget moves forward, has to go golden because he's in the wrong team as skill shots being thrown left and right. Satorius is still alive, Czekolad is still alive, but Sebekx makes short work of the Mordekaiser. Bushy and Sebekx moving forward. Click is there, but he's running for his life. It's 3 members of Macko still alive. Only one is standing on MOUZ. Can they get the damage out onto the Orianna? There's the slow. The ultimate from Trundle has been blown. The Ezreal will get back to his feet, but I don't know what else they can gain from this. They're moving towards the Elder Dragon. Can they secure it?
So it's not going to be the game, which was seriously threatened before those extra turnaround damage came in from Czekolad. It will be Elder, though. That is going to be the uber buff, at least in the combat sense of the word. Finally going after Macko at the second time of asking. It's not very often, but we see this objective multiple times in a game, which is such a testament to how close these teams are.
They're throwing everything that they have at each other, and they're giving as good as they're getting in pretty much every altercation. And now the question is, with Macko being the one sitting on the Elder Dragon buff, is this enough? Because we've seen Bushy, we've seen Sebekx just doing so much damage with 1 or 2 abilities. The execute on top of that could be massive when it comes to making that pick, making that play, taking down someone like Czekolad before the fight even starts.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, that Elder changes everything. That was why it was so important that Macko chose to take the Baron over the Elder earlier and kind of overestimated themselves. Thought that they could just go towards that Baron. Now we see a split map. MOUZ actually going to go push in a lot of damage towards the bot lane, but they understand they can't fight. They have to give over the Baron. At least they get something for it on the other side of the map.
Yeah, but it's only 1 tower, and yeah, it's better than nothing, but it's not that much better than nothing, as they're going to be forced to recall. The ultimate from Ezreal coming on through, cutting members down to size. The Ziggs ultimate this time around does a decent amount of damage. Czekolad might explode here. He will be able to get away for a second longer. The ultimate coming down from Cboi, who's looking to cut him down. He's burning low. Can he grab the kill from the burn? I don't think he will this time around, but StenBosse is going to chase Flash on through. Ultimatum onto Pridestalkr, who's going to sweep him away as the ult will drag him back. The shockwave keeps him alive. And MOUZ, they burn a lot of resources, but they managed to get away.
I mean, is that Czekolad or Houdini? That is an incredible escape. Yes, it's the 2 orbital strikes coming in from Macko. It's the Mega Inferno Bomb, and then it's the True Shot Barrage, rather, coming in from Sebekx. That is enough with, of course, that Elder Burn, like you were saying, the execution, to actually kill Czekolad. Zhonya's is the Elder Dragon proc, gets out after that point and leads Macko on a wild goose chase. Yes, it's resources blown from Macko. Yes, it's still time, it's still some real threat onto MOUZ, but it is time wasted by Macko when they do have both of these buffs, and I call that a win for MOUZ.
It is absolutely a good situation to be in, but the game right now is not a great situation to be in for MOUZ. They're still holding off against 2 massive objectives. This time the True Shot Barrage doesn't find a target, but this mid lane inhibitor tower will surely fall. The first base cracked at 47 minutes into this game. It's been so back and forth, the teams not being able to get the killing blow just yet. And StenBosse in the bot lane will also grab himself a tower for his troubles, but you've got to imagine. We said that there might be a last team fight like 20 minutes ago, Nymaera. These 2 teams don't want to say die.
Well, I mean, this is the kind of game where it is so hard to, as we say, win things cleanly. There are always extra ways to turn around. And the way that Czekolad has been staying safe and putting out damage after damage after damage, and not to mention Satorius managing to consistently shut down Cboi in the midst of resets, has kept MOUZ alive, even though their carries have been putting out phenomenal DPM numbers. It's not over yet. It's yet to be consigned to the record books. Macko finally going to be timing out of their Baron soon.
Yeah, they're going to be able to grab this second inhibitor tower, though. The inhibitor was cracked mid, so they do have that one running for them. Pridestalkr taken below half health, but can get back to the fountain if he's quick enough. And this second inhibitor will be the focus while this Baron buff is still available. Macko trying to secure it as much as they can, getting chip damage where able. Because as you said, when the Baron buff falls off, it becomes much more difficult. But Cboi on the side is pulled out by Satorius. Needs to be a little bit careful. It's a 1v1 in the death realm, but members are moving over from Macko. They're ready to support their Viego and were able to get him out alive. Click just chilling around in that bot lane, trying to get as much damage on the objectives as possible, but it looks like they're going to back away with that empowered recall. They can't get the second objective, and once again, the game doesn't end.
Because there's no easy way to find the pick. I think after that mid-game spree of FLICKR getting caught, Kamilius getting caught, trading between those supports a few times, both these teams have managed to shore up and play the cards a lot closer to their chest at this point. We're getting to the point where we're actually seeing 2 and 3 items on supports. That changes the dynamic quite a bit. We have stuff like a Knight's Vow coming in for Click. Anathema's Chains, obviously more of a first item, sometimes coming for Leona, but still nonetheless alongside the mythic item. That's the one coming in from Kamilius. We have to start tracking that as well now. There's so many extra things that you have to get used to in the hyper late game where we crest 90,000 gold per team. That's like going into practice tool and clicking the gold button a couple of times.
Oh, decent amount of damage on the Pridestalkr. I said those couple of early kills to Click. You know? It's all coming home to roost now. It's the engage coming in from Leona. Camilius gets a lot of members stunned, but can't really do anything else because there's just no follow-up. A decent ultimate from Ziggs will keep Leona from re-engaging. But what can be done here? Satorius is feeling confident. He looks for the ultimate onto StenBosse, but I'm not sure he's super willing to try and get anything going here. Will be caught out by the pillar as members moving towards. He goes, gets Bushy into the Death Realm, drags him back in, and Ziggs is just scuttling away, trying to stay alive. But that's the ultimate from Czekolad to catch out one, but he's going to be resurrected. Bushy is not so lucky. He has been shut down by Leona, and Sebekx will be dove on. He tries to get out of the back of the pit, but he's followed by Pridestalkr. Damage coming on through. He gets the execution. StenBosse tries to survive, gets the ultimatum, but the only person who's going to be taken down is him into Guardian Angel. Pridestalkr on the side. It's 2v1. But he's tanky and has it. He's trying to get away as much as possible, get as much damage as possible. It's forced away by the blast cone. 3 members of Macko fall. Everyone from MOUZ is alive. Can Cboi and Click get away? Members are pressing forward. The ultimate from Kamilius goes to the wrong place. A Cboi cannot get away. Click tries his best, puts up the pillar, but it's Viego is they want. And MOUZ, they get Viego. They get the bot lane inhibitor tower. They get the bot lane inhibitor. And you know what? They're taking this game as well.
It takes 51 minutes, but MOUZ find the game-ending teamfight and a heartbreak for the PG Nats.
Devastating stuff after 51.5 minutes. Click comes back to defend, but it just does nothing. It's going to be Mousesports who secure themselves the win, but goodness me, did it take him a while.
Oh my gosh, that one leaves the vocal cords a little ragged. It leaves them a little sore, and it's going to leave some egos, some hearts a little sore from the PG Nats too. Congratulations to Mousesports. That's one of those ones which you call a banger. I think that one is certified in that regard. We have been absolutely blessed by that game, Viperoon.
Oh, it was devastating for the PG Nats, devastating there, because there were so many great performances coming out from that team. I have to talk about Sebekx, have to talk about Bushy on the Ziggs as well. So many massive clutch plays being made by every member. And again, it's not about one team being bad or one team making mistakes. It's just when those team fights came through, it was just Mousesports who were a little bit more clinical in exactly one team fight. And that was the one that won the game because it was so late. But we're going to do a full-on breakdown on that marathon of a game after this break. So don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a few minutes.
He's gonna flash in, and he steals the ball. How did that connect by anyway?
Fini! As EU Masters Champions!
welcome back to the Amazon European Masters. I'm still Viperoon, still joined by Nymaera, who is still alive after that marathon of a game, but I don't know if we could have asked for a better set of games so far here at the Amazon European Masters to start us off. Our debut game's 52 minutes. Woo.
I mean, they're getting some mileage out of us, which I very much appreciate. And these teams really going the whole 9 yards on, well, the whole duration of this game. It started with a bit of a lead for Macko, and then things, well, went from one pick into another pick, into team fight after team fight, and it just never seemed to end. I mean, this is one of the very important team fights, of course, coming up around going towards that Ocean Soul, which, of course, evened up the combat potential for such a long time. Czekolad's shockwaves, I think, for me, ended up being the key determining factor in the majority of these team fights, but it wasn't enough to get like a 5 for none. You always ended up having like a few stragglers left alone at the end.
It was like 40 minutes in before we had an inhibitor tower being taken. It was Macko who took it, but every single team fight was just insane. And this is the Viego is a fun champion team fight, I'm pretty sure, but it was just so difficult because so much was being done by both of these teams, but eventually there could only be one winner.
Oh, such a close turnaround. I actually didn't know that. I didn't catch that in the team fight at the time. Click tried to flash chomp down the Jhin Zhao. Maybe that would have changed something. Maybe so many small outplays could have done. Of course, saw that shockwave onto Ezreal and Ziggs a little earlier. Of course, plays like this certainly don't help the chances of Macko in this game. And I do feel a bit heartbroken for this team because Group D is so ruthless. It is so high level, and these are the kind of games which you will probably end up really wishing that you'd won. But MOUZ on the other side of that, very, very fortunate for them that they managed to turn that around through spectacular play, particularly players like Satorius too on that. Mordekaiser became such a threat towards anyone who started 1v1ing.
I was going to say that last team fight, him taking Bushy out of contention and actually getting the kill in the end, or getting him so low that he could be grabbed by the Leona in that final team fight, was a massive deal. Because look at how much damage Bushy did. That
is 2 people with over 1,000 DPM. And I get that it is a long game, but that is still a heck of a number to put out.
It was great performances, and yeah, you've got to feel for the PG Nats fans because Outplayed, my favorite team from play-ins, were doing so much entertaining stuff, were playing, fighting League of Legends and winning a lot of their games, but then they get a really rough draw and end up going out. You've got them coming in here, and it's so difficult to watch, but they've still got plenty of opportunities to come back. And Nymaera, we're going out on a banger. Taking on a Vodafone Giants. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a few minutes.
He's gonna flash in.